Hi everyone, I'm Robert.
And I'm Patty.
And we're with Red Giant Van. And we just got back from a month-long trip, and we just wanted to do this little video to say some things that worked and some things that didn't work. It's kind of too early to say things we hate and things we like. So I thought I would just do a what worked, what didn't, because there were some things that were pretty obvious. What do you want to do first? Do you want to do the likes or the dislikes?
Let's do the likes.
Okay. So the first thing that worked really well was insulation. So we did the thin slit insulation throughout, and then my wife also made these window screens, and it worked really well. We actually hit, we didn't plan on this, but we actually hit -4 degrees in Tennessee, and the van, it never got colder in the van than like 40, 48, and with the Webasto we were able to bring that up to 62, 68 pretty easily, especially if the sun was out. But at night it never really got cold enough to even turn the Webasto on, because we had such nice bed covers that it was just warm in there all the time.
And the insulation worked so well.
Yeah, and sometimes it was too warm. We had to throw off some blankets.
Yeah,
but
with the exception of the -4 degree climate.
Now that one we did leave the Webasto on all night.
And all day.
Yeah. So I mean, we definitely did not plan this to be a 4-season van, and we did have some issues, some freezing, which I'll go over. But it worked very well. The second thing that we liked was the kitchen area.
Yes, the kitchen was a win-win-win. It was, the design of it was very easy to use and functional, and I had no problem cooking in here whatsoever. I think it's actually easier to cook in here than it is in my home kitchen.
And also the sink worked out really well. It's a very big sink. I mean, most vans, even full-on RVs, don't have sinks that big. No. But it's
a very deep, wide sink with a tray that slides back and forth, and the tray was a great item to have for rinsing and just setting things in, and the deeper is good for hot things that you need to get out of the way and put into the safety zone. I really enjoyed that large sink for many reasons. I mean, just the practicality of it, the way you can do dishes and not splash everything, and it just kept everything contained in there. And like I said, it was a great place to put hot items, so that you don't have to worry about them being, tipped over. That tray was a great item in there. Mm-hmm. So I recommend that. That's probably the number one thing I would recommend in a van, is a good sink, because if you do a lot of cooking, or if you do cook in your van, you need to have a place where it doesn't, because it's a tight quarter, so you don't want things to get bumped into, which is easy to do because you're shuffling with each other all the time. So having that space was a great.
The next thing on our list was our movie projector. So we have a Nebula Capsule II, and we have a pull-down 40-inch screen. I'll show that being hooked up, but it worked really well. I used my phone as a hotspot, and we have a Webasto, which bumps up the antenna strength, and it worked great. I don't think we ever had an issue where we couldn't watch something.
One time.
Just once. That was with the Nebula, though.
The Nebula, yeah.
It got into a weird, funky state, and it just had to let the battery run out on it, and as soon as I plugged it in the next day, it worked fine.
Yeah.
But it worked really well.
The picture quality was really good.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful picture on the screen, and we could turn it this way and watch TV from the captain seat, and we could also be in our bed and sit up against the doors and watch TV that way if we wanted to be in our bed.
Yeah.
Right. Plus we can take it outside too in the summertime when it's warm and watch movies outside.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing that worked well was our game cubby.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of games that we brought along with us, like Scrabble and backgammon. That's really handy when you're just sitting there with nothing to do, especially if it's raining out. It's nice to have a little little something other than just watching TV.
Right.
And of course, my wife beat me at every game. So.
I don't know how that happened, but anyways.
Yeah, but she did.
Yeah, but the cubby is actually underneath the stove, and so when you come in, there's a space that we utilized that would have been not able to be utilized for the.
Yeah, I think our original plan was to have shoes in there, but it was a little too shallow for shoes, and so we said, "Oh, this would make a great game cubby." So.
Yeah, and we fit several games in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
The next thing was our Webasto heater. So like I said earlier, it worked really well. We ran it a couple times where we just had it on all day and all night and all day and all night, and it ran fine. There was only one time where we had a fault and I just had to turn it off and turn it back on, and it worked fine. Kept the van, if there was no sun, it would kept the van about 62 to 65. If there was sun, it would heat you out of the place. Because it's heating up the sides of the walls. But yeah, it's not. You can hear the pump tap a little bit sometimes, but it's not obtrusive. It worked really well.
It's very quiet.
The next thing was our packing cubes.
Yep, the packing cubes are awesome. Instead of putting all your clothes in your cubby and having to dig through everything, you get the packing cubes and you have one for each type of apparel item that you bring: pants, shirts, underwear, and socks, that sort of thing. And you can keep them separated, and then when you open your cubby, everything doesn't fall out at you, and it's just a really easy way to keep things organized. And that really is the key. I know not the first people to say it, probably. For sure we're not, but that is really the key, is to stay organized.
Mm-hmm. The next thing was the makeup center.
Yeah, so my makeup center, I thought this was a great solution. So I have like a little makeup mirror here that I can utilize when we're driving. So I just turn around here, and in the Promaster, there's a pretty large cubby up on the top of the dashboard here, and then there's a lower one where I keep my hairbrushes. So I have hairbrushes, I have makeup, and then I have like a moisturizer in the center section here where I can use that, and glasses.
The next thing that we liked was the wine rack. Mm-hmm. So we have space for 5 bottles of wine. I made it with 4-inch PVC tubing, and we lined it with toolbox shelf liner, which prevents. It's supposed to prevent tools from slipping around, but it also worked well for the bottles.
Yeah. Plus, he put them on a slight incline so that the bottles, can't come out easy. And we had no bottles that came out, and trust me, it gets bumpy in here.
Yeah.
And nothing ever fell out of there. And then below that, we put a little drawer where we have our wine glasses. And so it's a really compact place to keep the wine, and that's it was a good addition.
Yep. Yeah. And also we bought some silicone wine caps that fit over the top of it when you pull the cork, so you don't have to try and jam the cork back in there. And those worked really well. The only thing I would caution is to make sure that you get all of the foil off of the bottle, because that will cause it to leak. So we did have one bottle where it just kind of leaked out a little bit. But because they're kind of on an upper incline, it wasn't dramatic, because we drank some of the wine and then it's sitting on an upper slope. The next thing that we liked was our coffee machine. So we bought a Breville Bambino, which is we have a Breville at home.
The regular size Breville with the coffee grinder. And we were going to take that with us and just bring it back inside when we came back. But then when we brought it out here, we realized how actually big it is. So we saw this one, and we decided to take a chance on it, and it's really good. The only thing is it doesn't have a grinder, so you have to rely on grinding it at the store, or buying a pre-ground bean, which it's better to grind your own beans because you can get a finer grind and get more crema on your espresso, which we weren't able to get much with the store-bought beans, but it still tasted really good, and it beats spending $5 a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So you know, it was around $350 for that Bambino, and it works really well. It frosts the milk quite well. I can still do latte art with it. It's just getting that, if I had better grounded beans, it would work a lot better. But it was great.
Yeah, and I liked it
Delicious.
too because she does all of the coffee at home because she likes to do the artwork on it. And I like this because it's really simple. You don't have to worry about pressure or anything like that. You just stick it in there, and the wand for the steam actually just stops when it's done. And then we bought a bottle of the syrup from Smart and Final. And
Yeah.
That was good.
It makes it taste just like Starbucks. It's delicious.
Yeah,
So
and-
our coffee was great.
Yeah, and if you figure the cost of stopping at Starbucks every day, because we had the coffee every day pretty much.
Yeah, every day.
And it was, you know, that would be $10 a day
Yeah.
for
Easy.
a month. That's $300. You know,
Yeah.
so this was definitely a worthwhile investment for us. The other coffee we like is French press. That works really well.
Yeah. So sometimes you just want a plain cup of coffee, and I brought my French press, and you just pour over the water, and that's also really good coffee. If you just want to have like a simple cup without a lot of milk. And so this is my water pot, and it's induction compatible. It's got a metal bottom here, and you just fill it with water and boil it. It boils super easy and fast, and then once you're done with it, you just smash it back down and stow it away. It's real compact.
Yeah.
So it's a good one.
Yeah, it worked really well.
It wasn't expensive either. I think it was
No.
around $20-something.
I'll put a link in the bottom for
Yeah,
that.
it was really good.
And then the final thing that worked really well for us was our map. So we really liked the CNC map. It was fun to put pins in. We originally had little stickers, but they were starting to slip, so I know that the adhesive on them wasn't very strong. So we bought some pins instead. And I think it probably works better anyway because you can still see the number.
Yeah, instead of covering it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have two different colors up there. The white represent just places of interest, and the green ones are actually the national parks,
Right.
which by the way is our goal, is to travel in the van to all the national parks that are possible.
Yeah.
There is some exceptions, but
Yep.
yeah. So it kind of gives us a destination for future trips, and it's fun to see them fill in. And gosh, I can't believe it. We've already been to 6.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I
Yeah,
mean,
we were going to do more, but we got sick. And
but we
so
got
just
sick. So
barreled
yeah.
home.
Yeah.
All right. So now, what did not work well? So the first thing is our mattress. So the bed mattress that we bought, it was very comfortable. It's a very comfortable mattress, but it was just too high. It was too thick. So it was a pillow top, and it was also a 9-inch foam mattress. And with the way that I built the shelf, there was just not enough headspace in there.
Yeah. You felt like you were trapped inside of a box, and I like to joke around with Rob. It was like every time we hit our heads, it was like being in a pinball machine. Well, that was a 15 point, I was a 20 point, 100 points when we hit our head on the air conditioner. But once we changed that out, I mean, it was a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
Because not only was it too thick, it was a little bit too narrow. We bought a full size, and we actually could handle a queen in there. And so we got a queen that was 6 inches instead of, basically with all the covers and everything, it was probably like 12 inches high with all the blankets and everything. And we just felt claustrophobic in there, like we're in a coffin or something. So once we got the lower mattress, it solved all that problem, and we were pretty comfortable. It's a lot firmer. That took a little getting used to, but now that I'm used to it, I slept really well in it.
Yeah. Yep. So we took that mattress. We were staying at my son's house for like 7 days, and so that gave us enough time to order a mattress from Amazon and have it shipped there, and then we just gave them the mattress for their kids. So,
So
it was a very good mattress.
Yeah.
The second thing we didn't work well was our outlets. So I only made one outlet for plug-in devices, and it's inside this cabinet. and so that wasn't as convenient. So I drilled a hole through the side and then put in a power strip, and that alleviated some because you didn't have to be like plugging and unplugging all the time.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to have another outlet over by the induction cooktop, just because like we have a toaster, we put the toaster, it has to be right here, because if it's any further the cord won't reach. And so it was kind of a pain, but it would be nice to just have one over there just to plug in when you need it.
Just to have options.
Yeah.
Options are important.
The other thing that did not work well was these hinges that I bought for the door. They work great if you get them perfect. If you don't get them perfect, they tend to want to flop and close, or if there's like a slight skew to them, the thing will pop off, and it's a real pain because you open up the cabinet and now it won't stay open, so you got to reach in there and grab it and put it up there. They're easy to put on, but they come off way too easy. The other thing that didn't work well is we need a splash guard.
So like when you're cooking on the stove and you're maybe frying bacon or anything with grease, of course that spatters, and so we're probably going to do some kind of a actual cover for the induction for a couple of reasons, so that we can flip it up when we want to use it as a guard, and also put it back down to protect the glass induction cooktop. And I think it's a good idea because it's a dual purpose, and we can actually use it as a cutting board if we're not using it to cook on. Yep.
Okay, the next thing was the cooler between the seats. So we bought this little 12-volt cooler. It can be a fridge or a freezer. It worked really well. The problem is, if you want to rotate the seats, you got to pull the cooler out and then rotate the seats. So every time we're stopping, we're pulling it out, rotating and putting it back in.
Gets tiresome.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
No.
It still functions well. The other thing that didn't work very well with this is it didn't like the 12 volt from the van. So when I plugged it in 12 volt, it would error, and it would giving it like a power issue, and so it wouldn't freeze. So I had to use the inverter on all the time. When we were driving, it's not that bad. So I would just plug it in and keep the inverter on. But
we made the whole trip without having to actually. We put a bunch of meat in here, frozen meat, individually packaged, so that we'd have for a meal every day, and it actually held up really well, and we didn't have to buy any meat until the very, very end.
Right.
Yeah.
Another negative thing that didn't work well, I put the Breville Combi Wave and the cooktop on the same circuit, and I probably should not have done that, because when we were cooking like bacon and eggs, we were using the Combi Wave for the bacon as an air fryer, and cooking the eggs on the cooktop, and you couldn't do them both at the same time because they draw more than 15 amps between the two of them. If I had them on separate circuits, we could probably run them both, as long as the cooktop was not being used at its maximum power. In that case, that would be too much power for the inverter, but it would allow you to run both of them at the same time. But if you tried to run them now both at the same time, it trips the breaker. So that's just too much power.
Just a little tweak.
Yeah. So that would that'd be a simple tweak. The next thing that didn't work well, up in the back area by the doors, there's a small little cubby area there that needs to be insulated. And it maybe even sound deadened, because we were in the rain, and the rain would hit that, and we were right underneath a tree or something, but a big drop would hit that, and it sounded just like water hitting an empty coffee can, like a big coffee can. It was like a drum almost.
Yeah.
Punk, punk, punk.
Yeah, really, really loud. Whereas everything else, when the rain hit, it was muffled and muted, and it just sounded kind of like light rain hitting the van. But that one area was pretty loud and annoying.
It was just really interesting that it sounded like that too, like a can. The next thing that didn't work well was my custom step. So the way that I had built it, there were two little pins in one side of the step, and that didn't work well. because I'm so heavy, I'm 220, so when I stood on that, it worked well for most of the trip, but at the end, it just finally gave way. So those 2 pins basically just broke through the plywood. And what I really need to do is have a all thread go all the way through the step, and that will give it support along the whole length. So that will make it much stronger. So it is a fixable design. I just have to change the way that I did that part. The other thing that did not work well is the bed lights. So we put a strip of the bed lights like we did up here, and that did not work.
Yeah, it was just only one person could access the button to turn on the light when you needed it, and when you turned it on, it was like extremely bright in your eyes. I mean, it is dimmable, but the first initial turn when you turn it on is like extremely bright. So I think a better solution is like a little reading light for each person back there that you both can access your own light and turn it on if you need it.
Yeah, and preferably one that has a dial so that when you turn it on, it's on low and then it goes high as you need it.
Yeah,
so
more
it
manual and stuff.
doesn't come on bright right from the beginning. The final thing that did not work very well was we just brought too much stuff.
Oh yeah, that was me. Guilty. Yeah, so I brought way too much clothes for sure. I didn't bring, I mean, come on, you have to have a pair of high heels, but
yeah.
I didn't have to have a pair because I didn't use them. But I brought way too many coats and jackets and shoe options. I mean, I had like, I don't know, 3 different pairs of tennis shoes. I had a pair of flip-flops. I had some boots. I had 2 pairs of boots. Yeah, it was just too much. But
so the high heels would not come in handy at Carlsbad Caverns?
No. I think I might slip. But yeah, so just packing a little bit lighter would have been more practical.
Yeah. Also, keeping the number of days of clothing that you have to a reasonable level. So like I had planned for like 9 days where I had clothes for 9 continuous days. And that's usually enough to where by the time we get to there, the laundry bag is full and it's time to do laundry anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And you probably had like, what, 3 weeks worth of clothes?
Probably at least 3 weeks worth of clothes, if not more. And I brought like things for different options because, you know, options are good. But it was just too much.